month before I was supposed to marry my childhood sweetheart. She brought a college guy to our new home and threw a wild party. When I got there, they were in the middle of a deep kiss. My fiancée, Ivy, just raised an eyebrow, completely unfazed. Leo, don't be so petty. It's just an apartment. I was just looking for a little fun. You're still the man my grandmother approved for me. My eyes burned. I pulled off my engagement ring, turned around, and walked out without looking back. Ivy figured I was just throwing a tantrum. She called her aunt, a real estate mogul, and asked her to pick out a villa for me. Aunt Vivian, I don't trust anyone else. Could you take Leo to pick one out yourself? A month later, thinking I had cooled off, Ivy showed up at the door of a seaside villa with 99 roses. I'd been up all night and was exhausted, so I kicked her out of bed to get the door. You need to learn some boundaries. Now that you're broken up, you shouldn't come around bothering your uncle. Ivy's eyes instantly turned red. She gritted her teeth. Tell Leo to come out here. The woman looked down at her, a smirk on her face. Your uncle just fell asleep. He doesn't have the energy to come downstairs right now. When I had gone to confront Ivy with the property deed, she was in the middle of a party at our apartment. Empty bottles were scattered all over the floor, their contents soaking into the custom sofa I had spent weeks picking out. Cheers and whoops echoed through the room, loud enough to shake the walls. The scene was a dagger, shattering the last of my illusions. I stared, frozen, at the two of them wrapped around each other. My hands and feet went cold, and I felt like the blood had stopped flowing in my veins. After a moment, someone spotted me standing in the doorway. The flirty, charged atmosphere suddenly grew heavy. Ivy's eyes darted away for a second before she regained her composure. The colorful party lights reflected a dozen different expressions on people's faces. It was only 30 feet, but it took me 5 minutes to cross the room. Ivy, you transferred our home to him. My eyes fell on the college student next to her. Ivy kept her arm around him, her tone careless. Chad said he didn't like living in the dorms, and this place is close to Berkeley, so I signed it over to him. A sharp pain lanced through my chest. Ivy, this was supposed to be our home. Do you have any idea how much thought I put into renovating this place? Do you know how much time I spent picking out the furniture? How much can an apartment be worth? Leo, don't be so petty. Don't worry, we'll still get married next month. I was just looking for something new. Tears welled in my eyes. I gave a sarcastic smile, pulled off my engagement ring, and dropped it into a champagne glass on the table. The thing is, Ivy, I don't want to marry you anymore. Her face went cold, her eyes flashing with anger. Leo, my grandmother has several lovers, and my mom has a boy toy on the side. Is it really fair to expect me to stay pure for you? The position of my husband is already yours. What more do you want? It felt like my heart had been ripped open, the pain raw and searing. I ignored her, turned my back, and walked away. Ivy kicked the coffee table hard and hurled a wine bottle against the wall. Leo, what wealthy heiress in San Francisco doesn't play around? The evening breeze was cool. The streets of San Francisco were crowded with people rushing home. I wandered aimlessly, losing count of how many times I was bumped into. A light drizzle began to fall, quickly turning into a downpour. I stared blankly at the world around me. The city was drowning in a curtain of rain, a wet blur where nothing was clear. The wind whipped the rain against me, leaving me a pathetic mess. The pain subsided for a moment, replaced by a wave of overwhelming sorrow. Memories of Ivy flashed before my eyes like a movie reel. Sweet, bitter, joyful, thrilling, then vanished just as quickly. I knew it was time to make a clean break with the past. A black Porsche pulled up in front of me. Her assistant rolled down the window and told me to get in. Vivian sat in the back, her tailored pantsuit radiating power. Vivian was the real estate tycoon, the beloved youngest daughter of the Miller family matriarch. After getting in the car, I kept my head down and respectfully mumbled, "Aunt Vivian." She gave a slight nod, handed me a towel without looking up, and went back to her work. Her voice was cool and pleasant, her English perfectly unaccented. I leaned against the window, trying to make myself as small as possible. "You're afraid of me," No, Aunt Vivian. Even though I tried to hide it, my voice was still hoarse from crying. Worried she'd get the wrong idea, I added, I'm just a little upset. Thank you, Aunt Vivian. If it weren't for you, I'd probably still be in the dark. That morning, Vivian's assistant had met with me and told me that Ivy had transferred the apartment to someone else. Our boss said you have a right to know. I took a deep breath and summoned my courage. Aunt Vivian, can I break off the engagement with Ivy? That's not something I can control. My heart sank. But if you really don't want to marry Ivy, you could always consider a different partner. At the end of April, San Francisco was hit with its first severe storm warning of the year. The freeways were closed, and the streets were flooded. Vivian had me stay at her place. When I got out of the shower, the puffiness around my eyes was even more noticeable. Vivian pulled 2 bottles of aged, rare wine from her cabinet and asked if I wanted a drink. I nodded and started downing glass after glass as if it were water. Vivian rested her chin on her hand. Her legs crossed elegantly, her calm eyes fixed on me. You're wasting my good wine, drinking it like that. I flopped onto the sofa and mumbled, the women in your family are the worst. Vivian couldn't help but laugh. Leo, you can't drag an innocent person into this and ruin my reputation. I hugged a throw pillow, feeling dizzy. Aunt Vivian, is there really no way to call off the engagement? Leo, this alliance is crucial for our families in San Francisco and Las Vegas. For some reason, the scene from that evening flashed through my mind again. Tears started rolling down my cheeks uncontrollably. I can't marry a woman who isn't faithful. Vivian moved closer, her hand gently wiping the tears from the corner of my eye. Ivy isn't the only unmarried woman in the Miller family. You have other options, Leo. Her cool voice was laced with a captivating tone. I looked up and stared at her. Other options? I threw the pillow aside, pushed myself up, and pinned her to the sofa, my hands on either side of her. The alcohol had numbed my brain and inflated my courage. I stared at her exquisite face, swallowed hard, and spoke, my voice a mix of fear and boldness. Aunt Vivian, do you need a boyfriend? What do you think of me? Her eyes darkened, her gaze sweeping over my face, inch by inch. My nerves tensed. Her hand slowly traced my eyebrows, the bridge of my nose, my cheeks, and my jaw. Leo, this is the path you've chosen. That night, Vivian left me utterly spent. Beads of sweat dampened her hair and brow. Her eyes were glistening, giving her a mesmerizing, seductive look. Aunt Vivian, how long has it been since you? She wrapped her arms around my waist and cupped my flushed face. Never, Leo. I've only ever had you. That's how it's always been, and how it will always be. At the crack of dawn, the phone on the nightstand lit up. It was a text from Ivy to Vivian. Aunt Vivian, there's a problem with the new apartment's renovations. Can you help me pick out a new place for Leo? I don't really trust anyone else. Could you handle it personally? Leo's a very gentle, docile guy. Vivian glanced at the reflection of the hickey on her neck in the dark screen. Docile? She hadn't seen any sign of that. When I woke up the next day, I rubbed my eyes and noticed the ring on my middle finger was different. I stared at my hand for a long moment before it sank in. Vivian had replaced my engagement ring from Ivy. My brain, which had been offline, rebooted. The events of last night played over and over in my mind. My face flushed, and I buried myself under the covers, refusing to face reality. Liquid courage is a real thing. I actually slept with Vivian. After playing ostrich for 15 minutes, I shakily got out of bed, my lower back aching. Outside, the rain was pouring down. My phone was flooded with app notifications and unread messages. The first one was a severe storm warning. The city-wide average rainfall had reached 4 inches, with rain expected to continue for the next week. Multiple bus lines were canceled, and residents were advised to be careful. Vivian was on the phone by the floor-to-ceiling window. The warm light softened her sharp, cool features. She heard me and turned her head. In the amber glow, her perfectly structured face was almost surreally beautiful. My heartbeat suddenly stumbled. I looked away, flustered. Vivian spoke a few more curt words and quickly hung up. I lowered my head, trying to hide my burning cheeks. Leo, with this storm, you should just stay here for the next few days. Sensing I might refuse, she cut off my retreat. Think of it as a trial marriage. After the alcohol wore off, Ivy felt a wave of emptiness. The handsome young man was asleep in her arms, his hand clutching her shoulder. Ivy's face was cold as she moved his hand and got out of bed, wrapping herself in a robe. She stood by the window, staring out at the relentless rain. Leo had been in bad shape last night. The storm had started not long after he left. She wondered if he'd gotten caught in the rain, if he'd made it home safe. Ivy just couldn't understand why Leo was so angry. All she did was have a little fun. He was in the UK for his masters for 4 years, and she waited for him. Everyone in their circle knew how she felt about him. The Miller and Grant families weren't short on money. She gave the apartment away, so what? They could just buy a better one. Ivy typed and deleted a message to Leo several times, but her pride wouldn't let her send it. She cursed under her breath and dialed a mutual friend. "What's up, Ms. Miller? Calling me for advice on how to win your husband back?" Ivy gripped the phone but didn't answer. "I told you that keeping a guy on the side behind Leo's back would blow up in your face. So, how did he catch you?" The words stung, but her worry for Leo forced her to speak. "I gave our apartment to someone else and Leo found out. He came to see me, we fought, and he ran out crying right before the storm hit." The person on the other end swore and hung up with a click. 10 minutes later, her friend texted her. "Asked around for you. Leo's at your aunt's place. He's safe." "Ivy, a word of advice. Nobody can help you with this. You need to go grovel for his forgiveness yourself. Don't wait until you've pushed him away for good to feel sorry." After reading the message, Ivy tentatively sent Leo a sticker. "This user is not on your contact list. Your message could not be sent." Ivy stared at the words, her eyes filled with fury. Leo actually dared to block her. The storm battered the city for a week straight. Vivian was like an insatiable fox, constantly demanding more of me. She toyed with the ring on my hand, her fingers circling over my heart. "From now on, this place is only for me." Her eyes, hidden beneath her hair, were predatory, filled with an intense possessiveness and even a hint of cruelty. I couldn't take it anymore. My eyes red, I whispered back, "Only you." Vivian smiled, satisfied, and planted a warm kiss on my eyelid. "Good boy." I clung to her shoulders like a small boat on a stormy sea, tossed about all night long. The next day, I stared at the dark circles under my eyes in the mirror, more determined than ever to go home. After psyching myself up, I knocked on the study door. Vivian was sitting at her desk, wearing a pair of rimless blue light-blocking glasses. I shuffled over to her and stammered. The rain stopped. "I should go home." She tapped the desk, gesturing for me to come closer. Vivian wrapped an arm around my waist. "All right, go back, pack your things, and move in here as soon as you can." I froze, repeating dumbly, "Move in? We're engaged. Shouldn't we live together?" Ivy and I had never lived together before getting married. Sensing my hesitation, Vivian softened her tone. "You slept with me. Don't you think you should take responsibility for that?" Wait, who was responsible for whom? After a lot of pleading and cajoling on my part, Vivian agreed to let me stay at home for a few days before moving in. I joyfully hopped off her lap and rushed back to the room to pack. Vivian leaned against the doorframe, watching me with a hint of melancholy. "Are you that happy to leave?" I pressed my lips together, trying to hide my wide grin. Vivian walked over and hugged me. "I'm really not used to sleeping in a cold bed by myself anymore." Her words stirred something in my heart. I mumbled into her chest, "It's not like I'm not coming back." Vivian ruffled my hair, a smile growing in her eyes. "Before I take you home, let's get some dinner." At the restaurant, Vivian noticed my indecisiveness. "You don't have to order everything at once. It's really hard to get a reservation at this private kitchen, and even then you have to wait forever. A friend of mine owns it. You can come anytime you want." During dinner, Vivian brought up our situation. "I'll explain everything to Mom as soon as possible." Mrs. Miller, the family matriarch, commanded respect on both sides of the law, and had built the Miller empire through ruthless determination. She valued face and reputation above all else. The time and venue for my wedding to Ivy had already been set. Swapping out the bride at the last minute was bound to generate a storm of media speculation. Seeing my worried expression, Vivian reassured me, "Don't be afraid. If she yells at anyone, it'll be me." Easy for her to say. She was Mrs. Miller's favorite daughter. "Don't look so doubtful. She'll call me shameless for stealing my own niece's man." Ivy received a photo from her friend. "I was at that new Sichuan place today and saw Leo with your aunt." In the photo, Vivian had her arm around Leo's waist, her eyes sparkling with laughter. They looked intimate. Ivy figured Vivian was a woman of her word. She had thought it was just an empty promise. But she was actually taking Leo to pick out a new house herself. Once Leo had the house, his anger would fade. Before long, he would realize how good he had it and come back to her, all apologies. Given that he had blocked her and hadn't sent a single message in a week, Ivy decided to give him the cold shoulder for a while. It wouldn't do for him to get cocky. The thought pleased her, and the dark cloud over her mood lifted. Just as Ivy was about to text Vivian her thanks, another message came through from her friend. "You don't see anything wrong with this picture?" Ivy didn't get it, nor could she decipher her friend's cryptic tone. She replied with a simple question mark. "The way they're looking at each other just doesn't seem right. Have you ever seen your aunt smile at any guy like that?" Ivy found it bizarre. "He's my nephew-in-law. Isn't it normal for her to smile at him? Should she just scowl at him all the time? What about the hugging, holding, and interlocking fingers? She's helping me smooth things over with him. After all, he's mad at me right now." "Ivy, has it ever occurred to you that maybe, just maybe, your aunt and Leo are having an affair behind your back? You're overthinking it. My aunt is way too picky to fall for Leo. She has guys way better than him lining up for her, and she won't even give them the time of day." "Fine. Forget I said anything." After that, her friend went silent. Ivy ignored him and continued typing her thank you message. "Aunt Vivian, sorry Leo was so much trouble for you. Thanks for helping me talk to him. I'll treat you to dinner sometime." The Maybach pulled up to the Miller family estate, where the staff was lined up to greet them. Mrs. Miller stood inside, playing with her new parrot. To please her, the parrot was spouting all sorts of compliments. In her later years, Mrs. Miller had begun to delegate, leaving the family business to her children and grandchildren while she enjoyed a leisurely life of flowers and birds. Among all her descendants, her youngest daughter, Vivian, was her favorite. Vivian was strategic, bold, and forward-thinking. She was hard on others, but even harder on herself. Her ruthlessness reminded the matriarch of her own youth. But Vivian had gone off to build a real estate empire, showing little interest in the Miller family's core business. This was a source of considerable frustration for Mrs. Miller. The matriarch glanced at Vivian before turning back to feed the parrot with a small spoon. "What brings you here to see this old woman today?" The parrot's beady eyes darted around before it squawked, "Ungrateful child." Mrs. Miller roared with laughter. Afterward, mother and daughter sat down for tea. Vivian didn't beat around the bush. "Ivy made a mess of things and broke the Grant boy's heart, so I took the opportunity. The bride for the Miller-Grant wedding next month is going to be different." Mrs. Miller, who had seen it all, was so stunned by Vivian's directness that she was speechless for a moment. "Aren't you afraid your brother's family will raise hell when they find out? I have more power, more money, and more influence than they do. If they start a fight, they'll be the only ones embarrassed." Mrs. Miller set down her teacup, glaring at her daughter. "If they can't fight you, they'll come crying to me. You always cause me so much trouble." Vivian sipped her tea calmly, stating with certainty, "You want a son-in-law more than you want a grandson-in-law." Ever since Vivian turned 30, Mrs. Miller had been constantly trying to set her up. Worried that her daughter's standards were too high, she had even paid a fortune to bring in talented young men from back east for her to meet, hoping it would adjust her mindset. Growing up, Mrs. Miller had rarely seen Vivian show a clear preference for anything. She asked again, "Is he the one?" Vivian answered firmly, "Yes. For the rest of my life, it's him." During the few days I was home, Vivian and I stayed in touch constantly. At first, it was just simple good mornings and good nights, sharing pictures of our meals. Slowly, we started sharing funny stories from our day and even talking on the phone. One day, we ended up talking about my time studying in the UK. Vivian listened quietly, saying that the next time she went to the UK, I should show her around. Just before we hung up, Vivian's voice dropped. "Leo, I miss you. Can you please move in soon?" Her deep voice was like a hook, catching on the softest part of my heart. A current shot from my ear through my entire body, making my heart tremble. I mumbled a yeah and quickly hung up. Lying in my soft bed, I couldn't help but think about the call with my parents the day before. Mrs. Miller had called to apologize for Ivy's behavior and had set up a dinner to discuss the wedding next month. Vivian isn't getting any younger. Our family is getting the better end of this deal. Leo is like a grandson to me. I can't let the boy be wronged. My mom's voice had a hint of tears in it. "Leo, if you're hurting, you have to tell us." My dad, a shrewd businessman at heart, added, "I ran into Vivian at a dinner a few days ago. She told me what happened and said she's willing to transfer all her assets to your name as a guarantee that she won't become another Ivy. She's a little older, sure, but I honestly think she's a great choice. I had only wanted Vivian's help to get out of a bad situation, but I never expected her to go this far." Things had spiraled far beyond what I had imagined, and my heart was starting to spiral out of my control, too. Ivy was in the middle of a breakup when the call came. She had only started liking the guy because he was young and handsome, a blank canvas she could paint as she pleased. Most importantly, he reminded her of Leo before he left for the UK. Back then, Leo only had eyes for her, his gaze always filled with a special sparkle. After 4 years in England, Leo's world had expanded. He had a career he loved, more hobbies, a plan for his life. He put himself first and no longer revolved around her. This new Leo was effortlessly charming, which, for some reason, terrified her. She felt like he had grown wings and could fly away at any moment. One night, drunk, she called the college kid to pick her up, and that's how their mistake began. She let herself get lost in the affair. But in less than 3 months, she was bored. Leo was irreplaceable. No one could ever take his place. The guy stood before her with red-rimmed eyes, looking hurt. His whining annoyed her, so she transferred him another lump sum of money. "I've given you more than enough. Don't ever bother me again or else." After he left, sniffling, Ivy's mother called. She immediately launched into a tirade. "Ivy, have you lost your mind? How could you give away your apartment?" Annoyed, Ivy shot back without thinking, "I take after you, don't I? You have way more skeletons in your closet than I do." Her mother's voice rose in anger. "I may have skeletons, but at least I have a husband. Unlike you, who managed to scare yours off before you even got married. Don't act so high and mighty. It's not like you're ever nice to Dad." After snapping at her, the words finally registered. "Scared him off? What do you mean?" "Exactly what it sounds like. Your fiancé is gone. The alliance between the Miller and Grant families can't just be broken off. The alliance isn't broken. Your fiancé just became your uncle." As soon as the weekly meeting ended, my assistant whispered that Ivy was waiting in my office and didn't look happy. I pushed open the door to find Ivy sitting in my chair. Her bloodshot eyes were fixed on me, a storm brewing in their depths. From her furious expression, I could tell she knew about Vivian and me. We stared at each other in silence for a long moment before she finally broke. Ivy shot up and violently swept everything off my desk, her face dark enough to drip ink. "When did you and Vivian get together?" She spat the words at me, her voice thick with rage. She was the one who cheated, and now she was the one throwing a fit because she couldn't handle the consequences. I gave a sarcastic smirk and retorted, "Ivy, what right do you have to question me? Weren't you the one who couldn't resist temptation? Weren't you the one who gave away the home I poured my heart into?" Ivy faltered for a second before reverting to her usual irrational, aggressive self. "So, because I cheated, you cheated too, just to get back at me? First of all, I didn't cheat. Second, you're not important enough for me to go find some random woman just to spite you. If looks could kill, her glare would have torn me to shreds. Then why Vivian? Is it that hard to understand? I don't want to marry you. Ivy's expression froze. She mumbled, lost. How is that possible? You love me more than anyone. The Grant family of Las Vegas and the Miller family of San Francisco had been friends for generations. Naturally, Ivy and I were childhood sweethearts. When we were kids, I'd find family parties boring and always drag her away to sneak off somewhere. We went to different elementary, middle, and high schools, but we always kept in touch online and planned to go to the same university. The day the acceptance letters from Berkeley arrived, Ivy confessed her feelings to me. She stood there holding a bouquet of flowers, stumbling over her words as she told me how much she cared. I lifted her sleeve and saw the cheat sheet she'd written on her arm, and I couldn't help but laugh. She scratched her head, embarrassed. I was just afraid I'd get nervous and forget my lines. Not long after we started dating, our families figured it out. As my dad put it, how can two people in love hide it from their eyes? In our junior year, our parents arranged our engagement, and Ivy took the opportunity to propose to me. After graduation, I went to the UK for my master's, while Ivy stayed in San Francisco to work in her family's business. 3 months after I returned, our wedding was put on the calendar. I thought I was going to marry the girl who had eyes only for me. I decorated our home with joy, but reality slapped me hard across the face. I looked at this woman, her lips trembling, her eyes filled with confusion, and realized that everything had changed. Ivy, the person I loved, was a girl who had eyes only for me. But you're not her anymore. My love is precious. I can't give it to a woman who is unfaithful to our marriage and to me. I love myself too much to give you a second chance. Let's just part ways amicably. That evening, Vivian came to pick me up from work. I wanted a relationship built on honesty and loyalty, but I knew those things had to be mutual. So I told her about Ivy's visit. Vivian stroked my hand, her black suit making her look even more formidable. She didn't say anything, but I could feel her slight displeasure. I sat down next to her, took off her glasses, cupped her face, and kissed her. In an instant, she took control. She held my chin, her thumb stroking it a few times, and kissed me fiercely. Time seemed to stretch and slow down until it was just the two of us in the world. When the kiss ended, Vivian pulled me into her arms and gently squeezed my earlobe. You certainly know how to appease someone. A small smile played on her lips, and her gaze softened. I turned my head to look at her, my eyes shining with her reflection. You're about to give me your entire fortune. What's wrong with me trying to make you happy? I leaned against her, my tone a bit roguish. Vivian, I want super spicy hot pot for dinner tonight. That night, she kept handing me drinks while I ate. After we were full, we lay on the sofa, quietly reading our own books. We had our own space, doing what we loved, not disturbing each other but still keeping each other company in the silence. That feeling of being in sync was unexpectedly wonderful. Vivian noticed me looking at her and put down her book. If you want to look, then look. I rested my head on her lap, giving her a playful wink, and told her honestly how I felt. Vivian, being with you feels really good. Vivian let out a low, seductive laugh. There are even better things. Do you want them? The consequence of our indulgence was not being able to get out of bed the next day. The next morning, Vivian stuck to her routine and went to the gym. I stayed buried in the covers, drowsily trying to catch up on sleep. When Vivian was done, she pulled me out of the cocoon of blankets. A soft kiss landed on my forehead, with a clear intention of moving lower. Annoyed, I pushed her away. I haven't brushed my teeth. Vivian pinched my cheek. I don't mind. Just as she was about to leave, she ran into Ivy at the door, holding a bouquet of roses. Ivy's bloodshot eyes were dark and stormy, the veins on her neck bulging. Aunt Vivian, you took advantage of the situation. I asked you to help me pick out a house for Leo, and you stole him from me. Vivian looked down at her coolly. I will, of course, pick out a beautiful house. It will be for me and Leo, and it will have nothing to do with you. And another thing, you need to learn some boundaries. Now that you're broken up, you shouldn't come around bothering your uncle. Ivy's eyes instantly reddened. She gritted her teeth. Tell Leo to come out here. Vivian smirked. Your uncle just fell asleep. He doesn't have the energy to come downstairs right now. Ivy roared like an angry lion and swung a punch at Vivian. Vivian exercised regularly. Boxing was one of her few hobbies. She didn't even break a sweat dealing with Ivy's clumsy attack. When she realized she couldn't win, Ivy started shouting my name. Leo, I know I was wrong. Please come out. I want to see you. Vivian's face grew darker, a storm brewing in her black eyes. Ivy, don't push it. Your side of the family has been making a lot of moves lately. Do you think your grandmother doesn't know what you've been up to? Are you threatening me? Not at all. Your screaming is just going to disturb Leo's rest. Furious, Ivy took the matter to Mrs. Miller. Grandma, Leo and I started dating when we were 18. We were engaged at 21. He left for grad school at 22, and I waited 4 years for him. We have 8 years of history. He has to be my husband. Mrs. Miller continued to play with her parrot, watching Ivy's dramatic performance. He barely even knew Aunt Vivian before this. They saw each other a few times a year and barely spoke. She must have forced him. Grandma, you have to stand up for me. After letting her finish, Mrs. Miller put down the bird feeder. If you love Leo so much, then why were you seeing another man? Ivy swayed, her face turning pale. She looked down, her fingers curling into her palms. It was a moment of weakness, and I've already cut things off with that guy. He'll never show his face in front of Leo again. You shouldn't be telling me this. Vivian and Leo's marriage isn't something she can arrange on her own. But I really love him, Grandma. I've loved him since we were kids. He's the only boyfriend I've ever had. I can't imagine my life without him. She looked up, forcing a pained smile. Grandma, can't you help me? You've sided with Aunt Vivian so many times. Why can't you be on my side just this once? Mrs. Miller's face suddenly hardened, her authority radiating without a word. You think I'm playing favorites in this matter? Ivy took a deep breath, fighting against the pressure, and tremblingly spoke her mind. Aren't you? You're always so careful weighing costs and benefits. But now, with the wedding so close, you're letting her swap out the bride just like that. I had to hear about it from my mother. To make Ivy give up for good, Mrs. Miller organized a dinner at the estate, inviting my parents and all of the Miller family descendants. Just thinking about it was awkward. Vivian squeezed my hand. Don't worry, I'll handle everything. I don't like these occasions either. After we're married, we don't have to come back. My heart warmed. If we don't come home all year, aren't you afraid they'll talk about you behind your back? I care more about whether you're happy than what other people think. Meeting her dark, intense eyes, my chest burned. I looked away, smiling as I mumbled, "You say all the right things." From the moment we walked into the hall, Ivy's gaze was locked on me. I greeted everyone one by one. When I got to Mrs. Miller, I called her Grandma Miller out of habit. Vivian quickly corrected me. Call her Mom. Seeing my embarrassed face, Mrs. Miller laughed heartily. It's fine. If you're not used to it now, you can change it later. Ivy's face was grim, her hands clenched into fists at her sides. She gathered her courage, walked over, and looked at me expectantly. Leo, in front of everyone, tell us the truth about you and my aunt. Did she force you into this? Don't be afraid. All the elders are here. They'll make sure justice is served. Even now, Ivy still thought I had feelings for her. It was like everything I'd said before meant nothing. I answered her word by word, no. Vivian never forced me to do anything. I was the one who made the first move. Vivian put her arm around my waist. No, I was the one who had the idea first. I was the one who seduced Leo. Ivy staggered, her pupils constricting as a part of her world crumbled. That's impossible, it can't be. Mrs. Miller stepped in to take control. I've gathered everyone here today to make things clear once and for all. What happened between Leo and Ivy is in the past. He is now Vivian's fiancé. During dinner, Ivy tried to say something else, but her parents held her down, and they whisked her away as soon as the meal was over. As Mrs. Miller was discussing the wedding details with my parents, Vivian proposed postponing it. I don't want Leo to be treated unfairly. The new house isn't renovated yet. and the wedding was planned according to his and Ivy's tastes. When Mrs. Miller wouldn't budge, Vivian pleaded softly, "Mom, I've been single for over 30 years. It wasn't easy finding a husband." In the end, she lost to her youngest daughter's request. Back at home that night, the phrase "I was the one who had the idea first. I was the one who seduced Leo" kept replaying in my mind, and it started to feel off. I pestered Vivian about it. "You've been after me for a while, haven't you?" Vivian refused to answer, shutting my persistent questions down with a kiss. Every time I asked, she would kiss me, refusing to say a word. She supported my hips, and I looked down at her, feeling like I was drowning in the ocean of her eyes. I forgot my questions, forgot to call for help, and willingly gave up breathing. One thing led to another, and we ended up in bed. Afterward, I lay in her arms and asked her to sing me to sleep. Her husky, sultry voice singing a soft ballad was like the tip of a cat's tail brushing against my palm, a fine, tingly sensation that went straight to my bones. Her loving gaze enveloped me, her eyes filled with a fiery, sincere passion. I smiled, held her close, and drifted off to sleep. The person sleeping next to me spent most of the night tracing the lines of my face with her eyes. When exactly had she started coveting Leo? Vivian herself couldn't say for sure. During the 4 years Leo was in the UK for his master's, Vivian had visited him a few times on business trips, at her family's request. Seeing the brilliant young man on the lecture stage, she felt a gentle knock on the door to her heart. In that moment, she had only one thought. She wanted that star to shine brightly forever. When she heard the news that Ivy had given away their apartment, she knew her chance had come. She seized the opportunity, successfully bringing that star into her arms, filling a void in her life. The future was far more important than the past. Leo didn't need to know any of this. All he needed was to be loved. Nourished by that love, the star would never dim.